solar system series known as Y, where we talk about the coldest sign in this ecliptic known as Scorpio. Now, Mercury. So before we get into how Mercury angles Scorpio and what it does with this influence, you have to break down the sign as well as the planet. Now, starting with Mercury. Mercury is the planet of thinking and communication, right? But it's not like your sun and it's not like your moon, nor is it your first house and or ascendant or rising sign, which are all the same thing, right? Mercury is a little different because the difference with those three signs is those are the things that you exist in at all times. You're always in your mind, your perspective, you're always expressing it at some point throughout the day, and you are always within your own space. Now, where Mercury gets a little different is anything Mercury and below is your set of tools. It's your toolkit. In Mercury's specific case, this is your thinking and communication. So this is how you package thoughts and make them broadly accessible outside of yourself. This is how you break your perceptions down into words and actually communicate this, or not just words, any form of communication really. And you basically, that's the act of pushing it out and showing the world how you feel about this certain perception, right? Now, with this angling Scorpio, what is Scorpio and how do we break it down? Scorpio is the fixed water sign, which means it's fixated on its own way of feeling and adding emotion to things. It's the ice cube, it's cold, it doesn't float, it's always deep down in those rough tides that not a lot of people choose to handle. Not saying they can't handle it, but I'm just saying with this influence, sometimes you choose to. Now, Scorpio is born from the 8th house. The 8th house is basically the life situation of anything and everything you are genuinely unaware of, you know? So, along with it being anything and everything could be anything that you don't know about. How are you going to know about it? You don't. You're unaware of it. It's in the dark. There is no light, no awareness shining on these things in this house. This is where Scorpio is born from, and this is why Scorpios go deep, ask why, and can be skeptical of certain things along the way, regardless of the planet it's placed in. Now, Scorpio is ruled by Mars, the planet of passion, willpower, aggression, motivation, intent, and basically any emotion that drives you to get your ass up off the couch and doing something. This is the motivating planet. This is the planet that carries out the duties and obligations of the sun. Now, Scorpio is co-ruled by Pluto. It's the planet that basically rules over the power to change. This is Mars multiplied to whatever degree you want past 10. This is something so deep, so intense, that pushes you through a process that brings a thought, concept, feeling, habit, or anything you engage with, and brings it to a brink where it needs to change in some way, shape, or form. Now, this change usually results in death, which is followed by a birth of something new. This is what Pluto deals with. This is how it handles it, right? Moving on, we also have Scorpio being away in Venus, the planet of love, appreciation, values, as well as how you relate to others. It is also away in Earth, the planet of nurturing, scheduling, structure, growth, the foundation. This is the planet that is your bus stop to a manifestation and helps you with the tools of actually making things happen in the local world we live in. Now, Scorpio also falls in the moon. What is the moon? The moon is your mind. The moon is how you react and respond to things. It's your emotional state. Scorpio just doesn't go with this sign at all. It falls here. It'd rather die or be asleep. As for the influences though, you can basically sum up this alignment as these are some deep thinkers, right? Now we know that this is sort of the final process to managing a thought, right? Or the initial process, I should say, for that matter. My apologies. But how these people sort of go deep is similar to how people philosophize, but it's different. Because philosophizing is sort of a what could be type of thing. And don't get me wrong, Scorpios do that, especially Mercury and Scorpios, but they don't focus on what could be as much as what is happening right now and what has happened and how can they improve upon it. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people are the type to brood on a thought, but it's not like focusing and being optimistic on the future. It's like damn, I wish I didn't do that. And then they come up with a bunch of thoughts and ideas on how to rectify that and manage that, right? Now, Scorpios go deep with this, right? So if we take you said your voice cracked in an important situation while you were talking to a girl or something in mind, you would look back and focus on this very deeply and very intensely, not as much as a Scorpio moon or ascendant, but you would focus on this and think about how you could do better. And yes, thoughts that would help you improve this situation would come up and would make you do better. But the issue is, being that Scorpio is represented as the scorpion as well as the phoenix, a death and a birth process doesn't, happen without some pain. You know what I'm saying? So of course you're going to damage yourself a little bit about this and think the thoughts that aren't very helpful and, why would you go there? As well as, did you really have to? But to some extent you enjoy it, right? Because Scorpios don't really go out of their way to do much and express much, especially with the Mercury being here. They don't think about much that doesn't get their feelings involved with it, right? So the way you sort of go about this, probably at a subconscious level, is you even beat yourself up about thinking these thoughts that beat yourself up, But when you don't have that and you don't feel around, you sort of feel naked because nothing's really making your thoughts go. Nothing's making you feel, And Mercury, I'm not going to say Mercury hates this or loves this in any way. It's kind of like, it doesn't really do too well because it's in water. But at the same time, once you actually really start getting into your feels and focusing on something, your thoughts will start racing and will start going because you're like, oh shit, And it's sort of like a Scorpio's fix in a sense. This is a Scorpio's drug. Intense feelings that they actually desire, The I statement for Scorpio is I desire. So anytime your desires start rolling, so will your thoughts too. Now, not to say that a Mercury and Scorpio's person thoughts aren't rolling on the regular like that. They do think very deeply, and they think quite constantly for that matter. It's just that any Mars dominant sign sort of lives in that split second awareness space where if they actually put a timer on how quickly they were thinking, how much these thoughts were rolling, especially in times of intensity, they would, be astonished by how quickly and how hard they are on themselves for actually just being this slow. You know what I'm saying here? They're not just sitting there just being cool, being calm, being cold. They really are being like, man, what does this mean? What does this mean? Why does that? Why does that? And it's I don't want to say it's like a Gemini, but if it's imagine if Mercury is the little brother, Scorpio is the older sister that doesn't exactly terrorize and chase around Mercury like that. It sort of just keeps Mercury on its toes, always waiting, always ready, always analyze it. You know what I'm saying? And this isn't to say that these people aren't very communicative or very talkative, which they actually aren't that much. But when you actually get them focusing on something that they enjoy, that gets them on their toes in a good way for once, they will talk your ear off. They will talk to you about shit that just you probably don't even want to hear, which is why they're very reserved and closed off and sort of in analysis mode, always judging, always watching, always looking at people's specific mannerisms to know if they can sort of release themselves and let the dam open and let the water all flow through and actually show somebody these are their thoughts and what's going on in their head. They're kind of detective-like, they're kind of lawyer-like, they love to know why, and this just isn't small talk and normal conversation talk, which is why they sort of need to find their like-minded folk so they can actually get these thoughts out and not feel alone to some extent. Not to say that Mercury isn't necessarily a feeling planet, but these thoughts will make you think otherwise, being that this is placed in a water sign. You get what I'm saying here? Especially oh my god. One thing, so what I do want to say about depth though with this thing is that Mercury is, Mercury and Scorpio people, they do go deep. Their thoughts do go too far sometimes, but not always. The little contingent, the little sort of footnote asterisk type little thing that I want in here is that they think so deeply and their mind goes so many places that they just will eventually lead in and find and stumble their way through sort of a Curious George type of situation where they sort of just hop right into something that they shouldn't. They'll just keep going anyway, because they're curious and they want to know why, if their feelings lead them in that direction. Anyways, that's pretty much Mercury and Scorpio for you. So let's break down Scorpio and do a little run through as to why we figured out these influences to be in this way and derive this meaning in this way. So, Scorpio is the fixed water sign, which is fixated on its own way of feeling and adding emotion to things, placed in Mercury, so you already know how that goes. And it's born from the 8th house. It is ruled by Mars, as well as being co-ruled by Pluto. It's away in Earth, as well as Venus, and it falls in the moon. Anyways, thank you for following our solar system series known as Why, where we talk about the coldest, deepest sign in this ecliptic, Scorpio.